Alrighty. Hello everyone, welcome back to SketchCraft Live. This is going to be an art tip. Thought I might take the time to kind of explain a bit more how to draw in silhouettes and create shapes and stuff like that. So, something that I'll be exploring further. So what you have here is a basic design document I've made. A friend of mine asked me to do some design work for him a while back, and I was like, oh, you know, when I got some free time, I'm in between getting ready to start some complex pieces. So usually I like a few days to kind of like get my mind's gearing up for some really hard shit. So I'm going to take this time to be creative and get some concepts done. He basically wants this dragon, serpent, winged thing, quetzalcoatl, whatever. And in this case, I'm just going to kind of develop whatever I think, my own takes on it. And I've already done some brief examples of this here. You can see some little sketches I've done here. Kind of zoom in. And I'm going to show how I sort of arrive at these little sketches. And I'll send these off, a bunch of these off to him, and then he'll kind of pick, I like this kind of head, I like this kind of body, I like this kind of face, and then I'll sort of merge them all together and then build color concepts off that. So I start off with the basic silhouette like this, and then sort of sketch on top of that. I'm going to do that here right now. I already have one kind of set up, but I'm going to just make up a silhouette now so you can see the whole process. Right now I'm sketching with this brown color. It doesn't matter what color you use, folks. It can be black and white. It can be whatever you want it to be, you know. It can be green. I don't give a shit. So this is just sometimes I like to sketch with brown on a cream because it makes me feel all artsy and shit. So I'm going to come with a few different bodies, some body types. So here I'm leaving room for head sketches and then different body types based off this whole serpent idea that he had. So I'm just using the hard round brush right now. Just basic hard round. And one of the things I like to do when I'm sketching is sort of figure out what kind of body types I'm going here for. I did kind of like this oriental dragon thing last time. Maybe this time I'll do something that's a bit more, maybe kind of like a seahorse. Or it's kind of curving around. I'm just kind of blobbing in here. This is an aggressive monster, so I need to kind of keep that idea in mind. Maybe you have like a rattlesnake kind of like pose where it's kind of corkscrewed. I'll add a bit more weight to the midsection here to kind of give him an aggressive, him or her, whatever. And I'm trying to imagine the details inside the silhouette as I sort of blob these little things in. I'm imagining the perspective and the construction. So we got to train your eye to see this stuff. See into the shapes. And I'm going to mess with these wings. I'm going to create a new layer for this. And this time I might give small. Don't worry about drawing over that. I can fix that later. And now I'm imagining the perspective here, that this kind of cuts down this way. Maybe these are like fallen angel kind of wings or something. Again, I'm just making this up, you know. And I'm trying to contrast it against shapes I've already made. So I did that one other silhouette, you know, and I don't want this one to be the same. I like that, so I'm going to merge that down. And then I'm going to duplicate this again. Let's just mess with some of the scaling here. So And then I know you wanted this to have arms, but maybe I can build those in. Came like this. That's good enough. So let me just merge that down. Now what I'm going to do is just turn this opacity down a little bit. And then with these previous lines, I'll just come right here, put these in a group. Turn that up, turn that down. All right. So, and the reason why I'm doing this is so I can sort of mask out this area here of the drawing. I'm going to draw into there. So, turn the opacity down. Then I'm going to just come here and sketch inside. And the way to think about this is I like to find the center, like where this middle of the head would be, right? And from there you can build three-dimensional. Once you find the center of where your shape is, you can build three-dimensionally inside that. And again, with this, I'm just trying to get the general idea here. These aren't final lines or designs or anything. And if we come here, we're using our imagination. I'm following this sort of center up here. So it's the back. It's going to cork around and create that shape. So that comes this way. And it's going to coil around. So I know that comes this way. Maybe we can give them a big knife tail. That'd be kind of funny. And I want to do some options, so I'm going to make a new layer. And this way, if I don't like it, I can just get rid of. And sometimes when I'm putting stuff like blocking in little horns, you just make little blobs. And then I want to work on the wings, so I'll make a new layer for that. Now I know that that's going to go behind that piece. I think these wings are supposed to be more feathered. So, okay, this is a rough sketch. I'm not sitting there trying to draw a million little feathers. When I start out, what I'm trying to do is present shape ideas, and direction. And I can get into more of those specific details when they pick one, or two and go, I like this and that. So that's a good way to start, right? So, and then what I'm going to do here is just go to this silhouette that I did, and I'm going to erase out the pieces that are kind of hanging out everywhere. Sort of clean that up. And then what I also need to do is go here and erase the parts that would be covered up by whatever's in the foreground. A lot of this drawing in silhouettes is just training your mind, finding center and then just sort of drawing through where you need to go. And then I can come here and I want to fill in the new drawing. And there's a reason for this. Well, I'll show you in a minute. So we're just going to come here and fill this all in. Now, when it comes to things like characters, with costumes, I would spend more on blotting in spots for costumes, not drawing a bunch of details. But this is for a giant monster, and this is pretty much all right now in the shape and the big construction of the monster. So I'll be doing another one tonight, later on tonight, on just kind of like designing costumes. So then we'll come over here. I'm going to fill all these in. So I'll fill this all in, and then I'll take that, pull that out. Go ahead and apply that. Put these lines up here. I'm going to take these and just merge those together. Merge those lines. A whole piece. So take that down to about 50%. I'll just make sure I get one more little quick pass here. And then what I'm going to do is create a mask and then just sort of paint out some basic areas. So I can create a little black and white, you know, form. It's easier for non-artists to see things in some sort of form versus a bunch of sketches, you know. It's even easier to see in color. But rather than spend a lot of time doing with color right now, I want to get some basic good silhouettes going on here. So we know what direction to push in, and then once I know a direction, I can start to build color schemes and give them options. See, and already that makes it easier for someone who's not an artist to kind of look at and go, oh, I kind of like the way that goes. Kind of like the way that looks. Yeah, and I didn't spend a lot of time here drawing a bunch of stuff that, you know, I'm not going to use, you know. That's why I call them roughies. I don't even like the word sketches because sketches can be, I've seen people, you know, clients go, oh yeah, sketch, and they're showing me like final art because it was rough looking. So I tend to call these like roughies. So they know it's not supposed to be cleaned up and shit. Oh, but it's gonna look clean, right? Yeah, this isn't the final art, numbskull. And I want to add a shadow, so I'm gonna duplicate this. And we could turn that up to about 80%, give or take. And then just paint in. This is the beauty of painting a mask, so I only have to hit the X key to flip between positive and negative values. It's a little too dark. You can even use the airbrush tool here. Kind of smoothing some of those out. And again, this is just... I wonder what Brandon wants. Yep.
Hey, are you recording right now?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I probably should check that before I even...
Yeah, you probably should check that before you call.
You know, but...
I have a SketchCraftLive.com, Brandon.
Okay, SketchCraft. Okay. I'll have to...
You may have heard of it.
Once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
I got it up
just
now.
showing how to sketch in silhouette, from like how to actually draw shapes in them and stuff like that.
Oh, nice. Looks cool. The dragons.
Yeah, it's stuff for Tom.
Like it.
So I can prove how I made it when it takes off and becomes a movie and I don't get any credit.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Sounds about right.
He'd be like, I heard what you said on the podcast. That ain't right. It's never like that.
Then you give the list of like 30 other creators it's happened to.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
Like, really? So the Designs in Oz by Rob Duenas, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people have designed since you. So in the first 3 books, it said Designs by Rob Duenas. Well, you know. I'm just curious about that.
That would never happen to an artist, you know? Never.
But designing in silhouette, you know, just how to draw on shapes.
Mm-hmm. Which is a specialty of yours, I'd say.
I don't know. I didn't invent it. It's used all the time.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know about it. I didn't know about it until I met you. I mean, I don't know if that is that a school taught thing or that's something.
I think they teach it out in the Arts Center, but I don't know. I wasn't taught it.
Right. I never.
So, concepts. What we got here is concepts. So I'll just group these, and then I'll mark that 0, 2. And I have these numbers. So I can go over here, and...
Is Kyle's question new or is that old? Since I just jumped in. He asked what this drawing was for, but you did answer it. But
I don't know. It not responded when I clicked on the... So you're going to have to check the chat.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, Kyle, I do not look at the chat when I'm designing and doing art tips. Like, so, as much as I'd like to.
I had a dumb question for you,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm good about those. When I finish up this cover, where would be the best place to sign without taking away from the art and character? Because I always feel like when I go to sign something...
Bottom right hand, tiny. Like, just like I do.
Okay. So it'd be
You see the way I signed the saucies? The saucy sketches?
Alright, so I'll just put it underneath her foot. Or away from the art in the corner, probably.
Just look at how I signed the sausage sketches, Brandon.
Alright, we'll do that.
So you don't have to be like, but you said, I don't say shit. I said, go look at the sausage sketches.
I can do that. Bring up Facebook.
Give you some creative edging here, make it look all like artsy and shit. It's just squiggles. Like, I put a lot of work into that. When I'm designing stuff, I like to give them a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you can't spend as much time on each piece, you know? And then once they narrow it down, I can spend more time on individual. That's why when people design shit, they're like, that's my design. That took hours. I'm like, you spent how much on an idea? And people who are paying for ideas like to see a lot of them. They don't want to see one really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
What was the name of that Mass Effect character with all the blue ink?
Legion.
No, that was the purple. The blue guy with the eye.
Oh, Magus. Just look at the saucy sketches, man.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I was curious of his name just because I was thinking about how vibrant it looked in person. Just a question. Just chit chatting.
Just afraid you're gonna make a big deal out of signing something.
Oh, I'm good at that.
So this would be development 2. That's 6 ideas. And shit, since we're already on it, let's do one. Let's do one more set. So I'll move this folder up here. I can turn these numbers off for a second. And go, alright, there's that. There's this. I think with these, I could probably merge that together, and then yeah, I can't make that guy bigger because I made giant fins. I'll make that head just a little bit larger.
Did you make that writing up at the top?
Yeah, I made all this shit.
Did you ever girl do that part, or did you know how to
Then I what?
like the Japanese writing, right?
Oh, that? Yeah, I typed in the word kaiju, and then got that and pasted it in. So
Uh,
kaiju means strange creature. So there's no title for. They never hand me a title when I'm designing, so I had to come up with one.
uh-huh.
So when I first start, I go, okay, so what's this called? It was about monsters and kaijus and shit. So I'm like, what's the Japanese word for kaiju? So I just shove that, make that really big because when I'm watching Kill La Kill, I like it when they go giant
Right.
Japanese
Yeah.
letters. He'll never use these names. You know, I've done it for every project, and they just none of the stuff ever gets used. You know, but I do it for me, so it's real in my head.
Right.
You know. So that the multiply has a little more contrast. Let's see this. Go back here and resave that. This is the design process I normally never share. So
What made you decide to?
because I got to start sharing my design process. You know?
Makes sense.
So you know, there you go.
All right. I asked and I got the answer, huh?
So let's go over here and just create some new silhouettes. Right? It's just, this is where you can just sort of start. What don't I have? You can come with some wild shit. And the more realistic, they want to go, the more you start pulling out animal reference and shit.
Hmm.
But right now, when I start, I like to kind of just go for my own, ideas, and then I can always go and pull out a bunch of animals and shit.
What size is the whole paper? The
Eight and a
size you
half
get?
by 11.
Does it make a difference for you if you did like a bigger size or smaller
No,
than that?
just try to build some kind of like habit I'm used to.
Hmm. Did you like the Batman series that was concepted by Jeff Masuda? Mas
Matsuda.
Masuda? Matsuda?
Yeah,
M A
alright.
T S U A U D A. Yeah.
Yeah, Matsuda, man.
Yeah, I know. I said it wrong. I was putting the S before the T or the yeah.
Shit.
So that one, did you like it?
Sure.
I know a lot of people had a problem with the way the Joker looked and stuff, but I liked the designs for like Poison Ivy and Batgirl, and I like his art. I liked it when he did Wolverine comics, but it's better than that Batman the CGI thing that came out recently. And that last one, that Batman toy show.
So again, all you want to do is when you have the silhouette, is kind of figure out where the center of the head's going to be. And once you figure out center, you can draw out the nose, the nostril here. And I know that that'll be a mouth of some kind. And I know I need a jaw, right? We know we need that. And I'll have the neck turned this way. We know that center will go this way and go behind the head. So at that point, we're trying to get the center that's underneath him. It'll kind of go here. So I'm trying to show like how they're like, how do you turn the shapes, silhouettes and stuff into like figures? And I'm like, well, this is how. It's like you got a silhouette, you find center, and then you draw your details, out based on that. I'll give this dragon a side hog, dude. Little shaved head right there.
Did he give you any kind of input, or was he just like, "Hey, I need like a
It's a
dragon
serpent chicken dragon thing, yeah.
chicken"?
Well, the fucking Quetzalcoatl, whatever. It's got feathers.
Uh,
I'm just thinking about head types. I could care less. The body type's going to be like one of three things. I already drew two of them,
mm-hmm.
And so what they'll do is he'll go, oh, I kind of like that body there, more like this, more like that. And then once I have direction, I'll start to play off that, you know? And I'll fucking stream those revisions so I can explain. What I try not to do is make the biggest deal out of an exact drawing. Like, look, if I want to spend a couple hours, I could sit here and render and shade the shit out of this, print it out, do a bunch of nifty stuff. But the fact of the matter is, they want
It's
to see
just
a
a
lot
waste
of
of time,
ideas. Yeah, they want to see a lot of ideas,
right? And then,
And these aren't like, it's not like a movie where I got months to sit around and pre-pro and just concept shit and refine it. I kind of need to get some ideas out there,
mm-hmm.
quick as possible.
Even this though is still badass. I mean, when you look like just looking at it on my screen from like a little distance, it's still a badass silhouette. It has like I like his feather heads going in the back. It reminds me of like a Native American warrior kind of.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Aztec-y or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
But again,
I mean, I'm just saying it has that feel to it.
plus, like people are like, well, someone's asked me the other day, how do I know what work to take on? Because I was like, oh, I only take on stuff I want to work on. Like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, well, chances are I'm going to need dragons. So rather than sit around coming up with dragons, because I got Game Cave, I'm going to need
Mm-hmm.
dragons at some point probably.
Right.
So they want me to design some dragons? Sure. Because I know they're not going to fucking use all of them. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to use one idea. And that'll give me a bunch of other ideas. Or at least it'll get my head done so that when I, go so that when I get to there, I'll be like, oh, I remember I had this idea. And I can do that. That's what drives me nuts when people are like, oh, this artist stole from their own ideas. It's like, anyone who says an artist stole from themselves, it's a fucking asshole who has no idea what they're talking about. Because it's like, how are you supposed to iterate on creation? You can't iterate on an idea, like I had this thing, we didn't want to go in that direction, but that idea worked for over here, or I did a little bit over in this one spot, so I elaborated over here. It's that Monday night quarterbacking when it comes to design and creation shit. It just drives me nuts. Like you don't like the whole interpretation of it, one thing, but then you're like, oh, that guy stole his own idea. It's like, thank you for stealing mine. I stole, yes. That looks a lot like Monstrates. Well, since I came up with the whole fucking look, yeah, that's okay. Like when they were like, oh, Haunt looks too much like Spawn because he's black and white. You know what I mean? And has like a
Mm-hmm.
venom face. Well, he came up with the symbiote. Maybe it was an iteration on something that he did. I don't know. Brandon, like how things are created are just hidden. People don't have an understanding or appreciation. It's like how much of an appreciation for cooking did you have before MasterChef or Hell's
Not
Kitchen,
much.
right? You just go, oh, you just make the shit, right?
Right.
So these sort of things like this, I hope it helps. People
Yeah.
understand. Like, hey, rather than me just fucking make a big list of why my job's hard, let me just show you what this is like. Come here. What would you do? Okay, you did that one thing. What would you do next?
Right.
You know,
They don't
what would
like
you do
that
next?
at all. What are you gonna do next?
What's next? What are you doing next? Well, no artist. You just did an art department. Okay, so that's all you got. They'll look through 50 of these.
Yeah.
I've done it. I went to an interview. I had 100 T-shirt designs. 100. They looked through all of them about 3 seconds and was like, anything else? I'm like, there's 100 shirts in there, and I made certain that they weren't all the same. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of
Right.
different ideas. There's text-based. There's holiday stuff. There's licensed. There's original. There's hand-drawn. There's airbrushed. There's watercolor. There's logo. There's vintage. Anything else? I'm like, 300 shirts not enough? You know, like. So let's go ahead and duplicate that. And then I kind of like that. Duplicate that.
Garland says hello.
Hey, what up? We'll take that. And just quickly do some lighting. So I was saying that when you're pitching ideas to people, if they can't be in color, because I don't want to fucking do a bunch of different color dragons when I don't know what shapes they want to go with yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, add a little bit of basic lighting to this because they can't see drawings. They can see form. You want to strike an impression. But you have a bunch of scribbles, they're not going to be able to see into it. Something else, if it's too dark and you want to get something lighter, since I'm painting in the mask, just pick a color that's 50% and you can get a lighter version in the same mask because it's painting in 50% opacity of solid black. Just come back here and just add a little bit of like creative shit. It's like white highlights in a way. All it does is just try to pop the drawing out. Add a little bit of. That's a bad idea. Let me try that again.
All right, I'm gonna hop off, finish this sketch cover, just because I can't look at this and do it.
Well, stay on for a second 'cause I'm almost done.
Okay, that's fine.
That's why I didn't call you. Because you'd just be staring at this shit and not getting any work done.
Right, that's fine. I can wait to finish.
And then for fun, I like to just do this. We can put this down there. We can So let's take this, we'll merge it. Nope, we'll not merge it. We will group it and shrink it down. And what I try to do is just at least get it in the ballpark. And what I try to do too is if these are facing, like if this top head on the previous one is going to the right, I make sure this one's going to the left. Yeah, so it's not the same. So, how to sketch with silhouettes. Any questions? Brandon?
No. I kind of joined late, but I think it's just cool to see you do these big shapes, knowing, okay, this is going to be a head and a snout, and maybe these will be some nostrils, and then you start to build within that, drawing in the shapes. If you have a general idea in your head, I think it's a lot easier to draw with silhouettes than trying to get all technical with your drawing before you even have the areas. Because a lot of people just start with, like, let's say they'll draw the eyeball and then work around that, which I know I used to do before you told me to draw with silhouettes.
Yeah, but
So
see how quickly you can arrive at shapes, right? And this is
yeah,
all about shapes and shape play, which is why when I'm correcting your art, I'm like, your shapes are fucked up. You
yeah.
know? But then I know like the big question was, but how do I turn shapes into a character? I'm like, well, this is how. Like even this kind of came out a little flat, right? So I could turn this shape down, this opacity, and go, well, I want that to be a little bit more in perspective. You know, so I can, not with that. The hard brush. Come here and start to actually work it, the silhouette, into perspective. Turn that one off. Then we can turn that one back down. And then from there, find the center line. What I like to do is kind of look back at what I did the last time and try not to just, repeat myself. The Yoshi mouth. And give it like little puppy dog ears. And then come down this way. So I know where center is. On both sides, the front and behind it. My dog has this little tuft of hair on her right here. I like it. So I'll put the little tuft of hair right there. You can use your life.
Your dog is pretty ferocious.
That's your bear dog. She'll get on two hind legs and kind of do the hop and get at you. It's funny. And then from there we work our way back out. So, it's the same thing over and over again. It's just plain different shapes, and you could spend, however you like to do it, you could spend the first 15 minutes just kind of blocking in, you know, basic shapes. You don't have to always use the hard round. I've just, for some reason, like, here, look, the good dinosaur. See, this is how they arrive at these shapes, by the way. Right. Oh, it's a little T-Rex. Oh, a little T-Rex. Right, he's got a little tail. You know. You know. Like, it's just way easier, dude. To arrive at those shapes versus sitting down. I couldn't imagine sitting down and having to be like, I'd probably just slap my 15-year-old version of Rob, where it's like, I'd be like, all right. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And if you use a wide brush, and you're using like a Cintiq, you can just like tap with the center of it. So when you press hard, you get a nice blob, but then you kind of draw at the center of the brush. So, you can get these kind of cool, like if I were going to draw mecha dragon, right? He's got like little wings and shit.
Uh,
I'll probably just keep that one and throw it in. That'll be the one Tom goes for.
Kyle said we need to give Rob a Rorschach test where he takes the Rorschach silhouettes and see what he turns them into.
I could turn all the Rorschach tests into superheroes.
Right.
Alright. So
I'd be curious just to see you take one of those tests to see what you see.
I used to think this was weird, but it's how a lot of people do it, man. I mean, I think Da Vinci even said he liked to stare at the walls to see shapes, and I get that because I used to do that shit all the time. You know what, man? When I was a kid, my father used to make me stare at the wall. So I'd seen the wall and pretend to play Mario in there. So maybe that's how like I started to develop the eye. But you see how quickly I arrived at that shape.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, look, if I knew what colors we wanted to go for from the beginning, I know I want red or green, I might design this more in color, but I don't have to. Right now, I can just figure out the shape. Like, these heads mean more to me than just body type. There's only so many serpent body types, you can do, before you run into, the same thing. So, I know, like, you do want to leave yourself room open for some really inventive shit, too. Like, just really do something will never get approved, where you're just like, I'll do one where, like, it's like, you could even work a side view first and then turn it, three-dimensional, where you're like, oh, this will be like, and maybe he sits like this on he's got like a cobra thing, and then the wings are like, so, silhouettes, man. I'm telling you, lots of fun. Problem is you can get sucked into this, Brandon. You'd be doing this shit all day and be like, I didn't do nothing but silhouettes. Like, wish it was enough to get paid. Anyhow, man. Does any other questions, Brandon? We're going to wrap this up.
I'm good.
All right, folks. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be back on in a few hours to go over costume design. So I'm going to wrap these up. Peace.